Okay, so a few years ago, me and my brother did a video for this channel where we talked about the first Santa Claus movie from 1994. And we're both, huge fans of it. We consider Tim Allen to be basically our favorite movie Santa Claus, even, with like Edmund Gwenn and his Oscar-winning performance in American 34th Street, which is amazing, and so many others. There's just something. Maybe it was a childhood thing or whatever, but there's just this connection with that movie that really brings out uh, Christmas to us, like as a collective, but also individually. And that's just like a really special movie to us. And this, as far as the sequels go, I'm okay with the second movie, even though there is a clear tonal shift, I guess you could say, where it's like a lot, sillier and childlike. But there's still something in there that's nice also, and I think three is pretty much kind of a known disaster from even fans of the trilogy of movies and stuff like that. And you'll notice that you can see a trend here when you start at the first movie and you get to the third, where it's like it kind of embraces each part afterwards, sort of embraces the worst parts of the previous entry. Where it's like there's a little bit of silliness in the first movie, and so the second movie sort of took that and ran with it, and then when the second one got a bit dumber in places and more childlike in places, the third movie took those aspects and ran with it, and it's just getting progressively dumber as it goes, and more ridiculous and over the top. And it's like we're talking about a movie that takes place, a series that takes place primarily at the North Pole, and we're talking about ridiculousness. It's clear. Surely you've seen them, so you would know what I'm talking about when I say that. How you can make a movie set at the North Pole even more ridiculous, but continuing that trend of taking things from the previous installment and going all in on the not as good aspects. We have this mini series that has happened, much like the other series I've talked about over time. I'm just going an episode at a time and watching them an episode at a time as I do this. So I don't know anything about the next episodes. I only know about the one I'm talking about at this given time with each video. So, talking about the first episode of this series, which is called Good to Ho, um, it's, I wasn't really sure what to expect from this series. I liked the idea of, you know, doing something with the Santa Claus thing again, because like we were saying, like, Tim Allen's Santa Claus, there's something special about that, so getting him, back in the suit and the makeup and all that, and, Elizabeth Mitchell and all that, there was something nice about it to where I was like, it didn't immediately. The first thing I said wasn't, oh, I don't know if this is a good idea. Oh, maybe you shouldn't try this. Um, there's always been a part of me to where it's like, there's a magic to that first movie, and I feel like if they tried, they could recapture it, or at least find something in a similar level. But, like I said, this one seems to be more going all in on the more over the top stuff and the whole idea of the way the North Pole is run, and like I said, getting more childish as it goes. And it is a series that's predominantly for kids, so it's kind of hard to get mad at it for being childish, but there's also a smart way to do childish, and then there's just having no shame. And I feel like the third movie kind of got us to the no shame, and we're getting pushed in that direction. And so, like I said, I only have the first episode to go off of. I did notice, stuff immediately right away where it's obviously the effects in the first movie aren't perfect, but they're also 1994 effects. This is 2022, and I don't know why the animation looks like it does in this with all that Disney money. It takes me back to Noelle, the Anna Kendrick movie that I hated, that came out like right when Disney Plus was first. It was like one of the first things on Disney Plus, I think, because it was like right at the start there. Like with that and Togo were coming out. That was like basically the start here, and that Lady and the Tramp thing. Um, and the animation in that was like the CGI was shocking in that, because it's like this is your jumping off point for your streaming service, and this is what you do with Disney money, is this really crappy animation where it looks like those crappy, TV specials, animated TV specials, that it feels like they put barely any effort into animating. That's what the CGI is going to look like. Okay, that's weird to me, but all right. But you get elves interacting here, and they say stuff like "elves got a elf," which once again is something else that I feel like is already way out of date. But if it was ever in date to begin with, but oh, and they're dancing. There's a lot of dancing, and you might say, oh, but in the first movie, the ZZ Top thing, they did. Yeah, the dancing to the ZZ Top thing in the first movie, they moved for like a fraction of a second, and that was it. Now they like celebrate with whole dance numbers, which is not, sadly, not surprising, because that's just the go-to with, you know, children and family entertainment anymore. It seems it's like when all else fails, just do a dance number, so we have to write less and we have to think less about whatever a story could possibly be here or anything like that. One thing, though, that gave me hope when this first episode started was the fact that we see Scott working on Christmas Eve. And it's like, that was one of those really, that's like one of the most magical things about the first movie, is that first time he and Charlie go out once he takes over. And we see him go from house to house. And it's like, to kind of go back to that, kind of where we start, is it's like, okay, this is something I would like to see again, is Scott going from house to house. And we do a whole bit where he runs into Sarah, the girl that gave him the soy milk, but now she's grown up into... It took me... there was a split second there where I was like, did they track that actress down? And then it was, oh, it's Casey Wilson, okay. So no, they didn't. And they make, some tired jokes about how... I just praised, Violent Night for making jokes about how, like when all the presents under the tree in Violent Night were just Amazon packages and stuff like that. But it's like they're very half-assed attempts at jokes like that to say, oh, we're updated now. There's also a lot of, I don't know, would you call it like PC culture jokes, I guess, which is dangerous territory with Tim Allen. But there seemed to be a balance here where it was like they were working in tandem here to make jokes happen. There is a kind of funny board meeting scene where they go through this, and that elf, Edie, I thought was very funny, especially the line about her feeling power. So when we find those moments that kind of feel like we're almost in the territory of the first one, honestly, I'll settle for that. If it feels like it's not there but it's close, I'll honestly take that. Like, the third movie has put us in such pessimistic territory that I'm willing to give this show the benefit of the doubt when it looks like we're headed in a certain direction. And I'm not gonna say automatically, just because I wasn't crazy about this first episode, that I'm just gonna fold my arms and say the rest of the show's gonna suck. I will try to keep an open mind, but there's a lot of things here that feel kind of dire, but there's other things where, if they can find the right, I don't know if it's tone, but I feel like the tone ship has kind of sailed, but, if they can find something here that, has maybe a bit of an emotional base, that's not just, franticness and, all that other stuff. Like I said, the worst aspects of, the second and third movie, there might be something here. And another thing that I am optimistic about is if this show is going to take the opportunity to talk about some of the unanswered questions about the previous movies. And me and my brother in that, video we did on the first movie asked a lot of those questions. And like one that comes up in this episode is the Santa that fell off the roof at the beginning of the first movie. Did he have a wife? Did he have a Mrs. Claus? And what happened to her? And so if they're going to continue to take questions like that and kind of maybe explore them a little bit, that'll be interesting and fun to see, especially if they have, decent ideas behind it. Like you can, you can address a question, but then just half-ass it and leave it be. Just say, oh, we addressed it, that's all we're going to do. I would like to see them explore these little openings and these questions that the previous movies left. Um, Whether this is going to do that consistently and well, I guess we'll see. Another thing that I thought was kind of weird was their kids. If I read correctly, I think his daughter is Tim Allen's actual daughter, and there's also the son. I can't remember if these characters. I don't remember much about the third movie, honestly. Um, I remember that Alan Arkin and Abigail Breslin are both in it, and it was the same year as Little Miss Sunshine, which was odd. Um, and Martin Short, and they went back in time. And that's about it. I don't remember if these kids were established back then or not. Like if they were maybe babies or something. I don't know. But it seems like they should be. They look like adults. I imagine they should be adults. But they're like. How do you put this? They're like stunted adults if they're adults. I don't know. Especially the son. I don't really know what's going on with him. But maybe it's a whole thing about, a baby that grows what would you say, he's half human? Now that Scott has the magic, is there a part of him that's not human? And then it's now that he's grown and the only environment he knows is the North Pole, does that mean he's going to be forever childlike when he grows up? I don't know. The sister seemed younger but more mature. So I don't know what the hell is going on with those kids, but I don't know. There's, what honestly I kind of miss though when you talk about the maturity level of how we've gotten from the first movie to now. And I love going back. One of the things I love about going back to the first movie is it's when Scott as a character really had like bite to him, and it's and I know he's Santa now, and that's probably completely changed him. And now he has to be nice and jolly, obviously. But I still feel like the second, not to the extent of the first movie, but I feel like the second movie still kind of had, where Scott still kind of had that bite to him a little bit, where he had like the snarky comments and the observations and stuff like that. And it's like I kind of miss that, and like seeing his certain reactions to things, and kind of still having Scott Calvin in him and not being fully Santa 100%. But I don't know, it just all feels so. It feels like that's kind of any sort of bite or edge is sort of long gone, and I think that's what's kind of holding it back and what makes it feel a little less mature as it goes on. So I don't know, but there's still. I mean, I'm not going to act completely above everything. There's a point in time where he comes down the chimney and he face plants in the fireplace, and I laughed. So I'm not like trying to act too above, slapstick or easy humor or childlike humor or whatever. But it's like I said, it's I don't know, but it's all you have to do is look at the changes in Bernard, I think, to see where the tonal change has gotten weird. Where Bernard was somebody that had a lot of edge and a lot of bite in the first movie, and he had the really passive aggressive comments and stuff like that. And you look at the rest of the movies, and he's just a completely different character. And he's like this. It's like he walked right out of a children's cartoon and was the most over the top character in it. And it's like, I don't even know what happened there, but that, like I said, all you have to do is look at Bernard, and you can see what my problem is with how the movies got more and more immature. It felt like as they went. So I said, not to say the first movie didn't have immature stuff in it. Of course it did. But it knew how to find the balance, and it knew how to, do comedy with a little bit of edge to it, but also have that emotional thing going on. Its approach to like divorce and custody battles and stuff like that is still surprisingly well done and kind of heartbreaking. So it's yeah, I'm not sure how we got to this point so abruptly. So because the second movie just really was just massive turn, and then that's where we've kind of been just on kind of a downward way. But yeah, that's where we are here. But like I said, I'm not going to go into the rest of the episodes completely stone faced and hating it. We'll see what else they can do and if they're going to expand on some ideas and answer some questions and see what they can do with it. They've got 5 more episodes. There's got to be a reason they made it a series instead of just another, like a straight to streaming movie or something. Like, surely they have ideas, so we'll see what they're going to work with. So until the next episode, I think that's it.